of the world.
What am I meant to do? This is for God, not humans.
Being half human makes you stronger than a god.
You're sweating like a human. Next, it'll be tears.
Not quite.
Wrath of the Titans is a mythological fantasy action film that continues the epic scale and larger-than-life storytelling established in the modern retelling of ancient Greek legends. Set a decade after the events that reintroduced Perseus as a reluctant hero, the film explores a world where the bond between gods and humans has weakened even further, pushing the balance of power toward chaos. Faith in the Olympians is fading, and with it their strength, leaving the universe vulnerable to forces older and darker than either gods or mortals. The story leans heavily into themes of legacy, sacrifice, and the cost of power, presenting a harsher and more desperate tone where survival depends not only on strength, but on unity between rivals and former enemies. At the center of the story is Perseus, who has chosen a quiet life as a fisherman and a single father after the death of his wife. Unlike the gods, he seeks peace rather than worship, and unlike kings, he wants no throne. This choice grounds the film emotionally, showing a hero who has already paid a heavy price for divine interference in his life. However, the calm does not last. The weakening of the gods has led to the imprisonment of the monstrous Titans beginning to fail, and Kronos, the father of Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, threatens to break free and consume the world. This looming apocalypse forces Perseus back into a conflict he desperately wanted to leave behind. The film's plot unfolds around betrayal and uneasy alliances. Zeus, desperate to preserve order, seeks the help of his brother Hades, who in this chapter is portrayed less as a pure villain and more as a bitter, calculating god shaped by centuries of resentment. Ares, the god of war and son of Zeus, emerges as a central antagonist, driven by jealousy toward Perseus and contempt for humanity. His alignment with Kronos and the Titans reflects the film's exploration of pride and impatience, showing how even gods can be undone by ego. These shifting loyalties add complexity to the divine conflict and move the story beyond a simple battle between good and evil. As the stakes rise, Perseus is drawn into a quest that leads him deep into mythological horrors. To stop Kronos, he must retrieve the weapons of the gods and venture into treacherous realms guarded by creatures of legend. Along the way, he is joined by a group of warriors that includes both mortals and gods, each carrying their own motivations and regrets. The journey structure allows the film to showcase a wide variety of myth-inspired environments, from labyrinthine prisons to hellish landscapes that visually reinforce the sense that the world itself is on the verge of collapse. The emotional core of the film rests on the strained relationship between Perseus and Zeus. Zeus represents the old order, a ruler who believes authority and fear are necessary to maintain balance, while Perseus embodies a more human approach built on choice and responsibility. Their interactions are filled with tension, reflecting a father and son divided by ideology rather than blood. Zeus's gradual realization that his past decisions have contributed to the current crisis adds a layer of tragedy, turning him into a figure seeking redemption rather than domination. Wrath of the Titans also expands on the idea that gods derive power from human belief. As temples crumble and prayers fade, the Olympians weaken physically and spiritually. This concept serves as a commentary on faith, suggesting that power without connection is ultimately fragile. The gods' desperation contrasts sharply with Perseus's grounded humanity, reinforcing the film's argument that true strength comes from responsibility rather than worship. The action sequences are designed to escalate constantly, building toward a final confrontation that feels apocalyptic in scale. Massive battles, collapsing cities, and towering creatures emphasize the sense that the fate of the entire world is at stake. Unlike smaller personal conflicts, these scenes focus on destruction and survival, with little room for mercy. The visual effects play a major role in conveying this intensity, presenting the titans and monsters as forces of nature rather than simple enemies. The cast brings together returning faces and new characters who help shape the narrative. Perseus is portrayed with a mix of stoicism and emotional restraint, reflecting a man who has already seen too much loss. Zeus carries the weight of authority and regret, while Hades offers a colder, more pragmatic presence. Ares is depicted as aggressive and volatile, embodying the destructive side of divine power. Supporting characters provide moments of loyalty, humor, and sacrifice, reminding the audience that mortals are often the ones who pay the highest price in conflicts between gods. From a factual standpoint, the film serves as a direct sequel, continuing the storyline and visual style of its predecessor while attempting to deepen the mythology. It embraces a darker color palette and more somber tone, aligning with the narrative's emphasis on decline and desperation. The creatures and settings draw inspiration from classical myths, but are reimagined with a modern cinematic aesthetic, blending ancient symbolism with contemporary spectacle. The plot moves steadily toward an inevitable clash with Kronos, whose awakening represents the ultimate consequence of divine failure. Kronos is less a character and more a symbol of unstoppable destruction, a reminder that some forces cannot be reasoned with or controlled. The final battle tests every alliance formed throughout the film, forcing gods and humans to fight side by side. Sacrifice becomes unavoidable, reinforcing the theme that power always demands a price. The release of Wrath of the Titans positioned it as a major fantasy event, aimed at audiences who enjoy large-scale action rooted in myth. Its timing reflected continued interest in epic reimaginings of ancient stories, combining familiar legends with modern filmmaking technology. The film's presentation emphasized its visual scale and high-stakes narrative, marketing it as a continuation of an already established mythological universe. The trailer material focused heavily on showcasing destruction, monsters, and the escalating threat posed by Kronos. Quick cuts of collapsing landscapes, intense combat, and dramatic confrontations between gods highlighted the film's commitment to spectacle. The emphasis was clearly on raising the stakes beyond the previous chapter, signaling to audiences that this was not merely a repeat of past conflicts, but an expansion into something far more dangerous and final. Ultimately, Wrath of the Titans stands as a story about the end of an era. It depicts gods struggling to maintain relevance in a world that no longer believes in them, and a hero who must once again step forward, not because he seeks glory, but because he refuses to let chaos consume everything he has left. Through its blend of myth, action, and emotional conflict, the film presents a vision of ancient legends colliding with modern ideas about power, responsibility, and sacrifice, delivering a narrative that is as much about decline and redemption as it is about monsters and war.